I'm kind of tickled that we've reached this important part in the night, which highlights why we're all here. Families with special needs who benefit so greatly from Fraser. My pleasure to introduce a very special guest, Randy Pattee. Not only is Randy the chairman of the Fraser Board of Directors, he's also a Fraser parent. His family's story illustrates the tremendous need that exists in our community. Please join me in welcoming Randy Pattee. Randy, here we come.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. I'm Randy Pattee. I'm honored to be Fraser's board chair this year. But tonight, I'm not here as board chair. I'm here as a Fraser parent. My family and I have been Fraser clients and supporters since 1997 when our son Emmett was first diagnosed. There are 5 of us in our family. My wife, Val Ruttenberg, can't be here tonight. She's in Ohio with our youngest son, Cy, who's 19. It's parents' weekend at college. Our oldest son, Jack, is here tonight. He's hoping I don't say too much about him. He's 24, and Emmett is the one I'm here to talk about, who's 21 years old. He's our second child, and Emmett was always a good baby. He was even born on his due date. He was healthy and strong and aced all of his APGAR scores, so we knew that he was fine when he was born. Emmett seemed to develop normally for his first year and a half. He was talking normally, maybe even a little bit precocious because he knew all of his numbers, some letters, all of his colors. He was starting to string together 2- and 3-word phrases. But when Val was pregnant with our youngest, Cy, and Emmett was about 20 to 22 months old, things started to change. And they started to change fast. First thing we noticed was the sleeping. That kid could just not sleep through the night anymore. We also noticed him pacing. We had a living room rug which had a border, and he would pace around it for hours and hours. We also noticed the hand banging. He always seemed to need to hit things with his open palms, trying to get some sort of feeling or stimulation on them, and he would pat and hit everything that he came in touch with. He stopped responding to his name. He talked a lot less. He acted as if he didn't hear us. He'd struggle fighting something before he went to sleep, and he had lots and lots of stomach problems. We took Emmett to his regular doctor, who suggested that he was diagnosed with PDD-NOS, which was pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. Well, whatever the hell that was, we didn't want that for our son. So we had to do something. And that kicked off a flurry of activity. We had Emmett tested for hearing loss, brain tumors, ADHD problems, allergies, epilepsy. We got another diagnosis, which was CDD, childhood disintegrative disorder, which sounded even worse, and it was. We didn't know much about autism, and over the years we went through all of the theories of the day. A vaccine caused it. He has allergies that affect the development of his brain. We didn't give him enough love and attention when he was an infant. We were too anxious as parents, and it made him anxious. We also tried all of the fad cures of the day, from miracle drugs to miracle diets. Once we got to swimming with sharks, we decided that that wasn't going to work. We used to call them the cure du jour, but none of them did work. Emmett was what he was, and we were going to have to get used to it. That's all there was to it. There was going to be no miracle cure for Emmett. It's hard to tell 2 fixers that the most important thing in their lives can't be fixed, and they just have to deal with it. So we were trying to get used to it. Because Emmett couldn't sleep through the night, we had to develop a little bit of a routine. As soon as the kids went to sleep, one of us did too. Didn't matter whether it was 7:30 at night or 11:30 at night or 5:30 in the afternoon. One of us went down because we knew that we'd have to get up with Emmett. He usually woke up between 2 and 4 for a couple of hours. One of us, in my memory it was always me, but in Val's memory it was always her, had to get up in the middle of the night and get Emmett to go back to sleep. After a few years of staying up with him for a couple of hours every night, we got a doctor to prescribe a sedative for him. It was a foul-tasting syrup that we'd force Emmett to swallow, which limited our 2-hour nighttime visits down to a more manageable 30 to 45 minutes. But it was really hard to give him that medication. It tasted terrible. We had to hold him down and give it to him with a syringe. The only thing more fun than wrestling with your 5-year-old autistic son in the middle of the night to force him to take some medicine that he hates is knowing that you get to do it every single night forever. Both of us were working full-time, and our family had the normal family activities of life. There were school parties and events, birthday parties, homework, and then we had some activities that were less normal. Emmett would sometimes slap the windows of our house with his palms, trying to get some feeling in them, and sometimes he would slap them so hard that he'd break the window and cut himself. Emmett never felt much in the way of pain, so we wouldn't find out about it normally until we saw blood all over the place. Emmett loved to swim, so he'd run into the water wherever he saw it. The pond near our house, a closed pool, Lake Harriet, the Mississippi. So we always had to watch out for Emmett and water, too. We also started noticing that there were fewer and fewer activities going on at our house. Jack and Cy simply couldn't bear to have their friends exposed to the strange things that were going on around our house. And it was strange. When we went out, we got used to people staring at us. I'm sure we were quite a sight. Emmett's noticeably different, and it got to be too much for the boys. We finally asked one developmental pediatrician that we had what the future would be like for Emmett. What could we expect our lives to be like? She said, Emmett's probably going to be severely retarded. He may never be able to talk or live on his own. As far as our family, she told us something that we never forgot. I know what you'll do. You'll keep Emmett at home until he ruins everyone's lives, and then you'll send him to an institution. Through classes at Fraser, we were lucky enough to meet other families that had autistic children. We called ourselves the Autism Social Society, mainly because we thought the acronym was funny. And we could enjoy ourselves and just be ourselves with all of our members of the family. About 2/3 of the Autism Social Society is here tonight. They've been friends for a long time. We got together and we could have some wild, wild parties with our kids. There would be broken glass, nudity, bodily functions, people eloping, everything a good party should have. But we could all enjoy it because we were all in the same boat. So you could laugh it off, you could help, you could do whatever you wanted, and we were among friends that wouldn't judge us and that had seen that and so much worse. So when one of the kids had to toast all the bread in the house and take a bath in every single one of the bathtubs as soon as he walked in the front door, it was no big deal. Our boys were wonderful, but they weren't getting the kind of childhood that they deserved. None of the three of them were. We couldn't go on vacation together because the change was too hard on Emmett. He didn't get anything out of seeing something new. We didn't go out as a family nearly as much. Holidays and parties were usually cut short, and tired, cranky parents probably weren't always as patient and understanding with their children as they could have been either. After another appointment with a different developmental pediatrician, the doctor said to Val, "You know you can't do this right. You know you can't keep this up." That planted the seed that maybe we needed to think about doing something different. Not long after that, we had an episode that we'll all remember. Emmett did his usual waking up in the middle of the night, and I was responsible for him. After calming him down and then wrestling the Mickey into his mouth, everything seemed to be fine, so I rocked him to sleep. I woke up again about 4:30, hearing Emmett in his room, awake a little earlier than usual. When I got to his room, I could see why he wasn't sleeping. His diaper had been filled and then had been taken off. Everything in the diaper was all over his room. I woke up Val, and for 90 minutes we scrubbed everything. Emmett went in the bathtub. We couldn't save his mattress, his bedding, the rug, the couch in his room. We had to scrub the walls, windows, light fixtures, doors, door handles, the toy box, the bookshelves, and everything in them. Everything in his room had to be scrubbed or go out. By that time, Val knew that we had to do something, but I wasn't ready. I argued, I fought, I gave her the silent treatment. I refused to address the problem, leaving most of the work to find out what we were going to do up to her. How on earth can you decide that your 7-year-old child can't live with you anymore? He's such a little kid. How can you remove someone that young from your family? Isn't it the obligation of a family to be there for everyone, no matter the trouble or the problem? He's just too young to move out of the house. Fortunately for us, Fraser was there again. We learned that Fraser had a group home for children. Emmett was a little younger than the other kids, but not by much. By luck, there was a space available. The house was great, his room would be nice, the people who ran it seemed wonderful, and it looked promising. And besides that, it was Fraser. What do you look for when you're sending your 7-year-old son out to live somewhere else? Good reputation? Check, we had that. Safe? Yes. Understanding people? Definitely. Close to home so that we could visit? 15-minute drive turned out to be okay. Freedom to visit almost every time, almost any time you want? Check. Involvement in all the activities at the house if we wanted it? Check also. And the chance to bring him home to spend time with us whenever we wanted? We got that too. Emmett quickly got acquainted with his new home. He met a housemate who has similar abilities, and they've now lived together for 14 years. We met Monica, an angel if there ever was one, who made Emmett do things that the rest of us could never do. Put on his shoes, get dressed, hang up his coat. She's been wonderful for us and is Emmett's favorite person in the world. I first knew that the choice was right when Emmett was visiting our house one evening. I asked him if he was getting tired, and he got up, grabbed my hand, and started walking me toward the garage where the car was. Yes, he was tired, but he didn't want to sleep in his own bed. He wanted to go home. He wanted to go home to Fraser. After that, Emmett didn't have a bed or a room in our house anymore because he lived at Fraser. He was much more comfortable there. There was someone to watch him 24/7. He could get all the consistency that he needed in order to feel happy and safe. He even started sleeping through the night after only a couple of months at the Abbott house. He had peers that were around. People came into the house to do art and music with him, and he still went to therapy and school and did all the things that he normally did. And we had a schedule of seeing him at least a couple times a week, usually more. Most importantly, the Fraser people that Emmett spent time with have been absolutely wonderful. They are loving and patient. They've been steadfast in their belief that Emmett can continue to grow and mature. They really know him, and they really care about him. Despite the fact that things were going great for Emmett and better for us, we did run into some people who didn't necessarily agree with what we had done. People we barely knew would ask, "How could you do that to your child? Couldn't you find any way for him to live with you? He never seemed that bad to me. Why did you put him in a home?" As if we hadn't asked those questions of ourselves. Our family and close friends were supportive, which helped, and Jack and Cy started to seem better too. We started seeing more activity at our house, more friends around, more laughter. Things were getting better. We were even able to start going out to eat and enjoying family events a little more. Best of all, we knew that it was right for Emmett and for us, and that made the harsh judgments a lot easier to endure. And that's our version of success. That's our story. Emmett still can't talk, still wears diapers, but he's doing about as well as he can. He's truly delightful, he's mischievous, loving, and he's warm-hearted. One of our biggest worries when Emmett moved into the Fraser home was that we wouldn't really know him anymore, our own son. We worried that we wouldn't love him the same way. Not only is he still not impossible not to adore, but he's usually interactive and happy when he's around us. In other words, Emmett doesn't seem to hold a grudge. Emmett will never be able to live on his own. He won't be able to cook for himself. He'll never get married. He won't have a job. He won't talk. We're still holding out hope that someday he'll be potty trained, but that may not be reasonable anymore either. He is 21. His autism will never be cured, and he will never be able to have what we would think of as a normal life. But as long as Emmett has Fraser, he'll have what he needs. He has a safe, clean, happy place to live. He has people who love him and take care of him. He's as happy and as healthy as he can get, and he's thriving in this environment. And that's why Fraser is important. Fraser is in this for the long haul, just like Emmett is. Fraser is committed to providing safe, clean housing for people like Emmett so that they can live out their lives as best they can in a place that they consider home. Now, not speaking as Emmett's dad, but as Fraser board president, thank you all very much for coming tonight. It is a lovely event and a great evening. We really appreciate everyone's attendance, energy, and enthusiasm. So thank you from our family, and thank you from Emmett and his housemates. And finally, thank you, Fraser, for showing us that there are many different versions of success and for helping us find our version of success for our family. Thank you.
So I just want to say a few words. Randy is a dear person. Randy's an attorney. And I look at our parents, and the courage it takes to stand up here and tell their stories is really hard. But they tell their stories, and they're willing to tell those stories every day. So I just want to say, Randy, we love you. We love Emmett. And bless you all for supporting Fraser.